What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick, and I'm joined, as always, with Keelan. Hey, how are you, man? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Can't complain. Doing well. Um, I am. I'm interested in talking about this one, but as a
All right,
person overall, I'm good.
that's great. That's good to hear. Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this particular movie we're about to review tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in with us. We really appreciate it and checking out our show. If you like what we do here, please consider leaving a thumbs up and a subscription to our YouTube page. It would really help us out. I think we're at like 131 subscribers now. We're kicking butt and can't do it without you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in again. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the movie Luther, The Fallen Son on Netflix that just came out in 2023. So this is a recent one, which is great because we needed some new stuff to review. It's directed by Jamie Payne. It was written by Neil Cross, and it stars Idris Elba, Cynthia Erivo, and Andy Serkis. And the tag line here is: a brilliant but disgraced detective, John Luther, breaks out of prison to hunt down a sadistic serial killer who is terrorizing London. Um, Pretty straightforward uh, description there. I think you can get what you might um, expect from this.
Right.
It's also a BBC series where Idris Elba plays the character John Luther, and he's a detective. This is sort of like a sequel to the series, I suppose, that
Hmm.
came out on Netflix.
I never thought
Yeah,
of a movie like a sequel. That's a great way to explain that.
I believe it happens after the show.
Yeah,
So,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is just sort of like an expansive movie for the show that was on the BBC that I did not watch, and so I don't have any context for most of this movie, if there is any at all.
Right.
Um,
Mhm, mhm.
mhm. Oh no,
Um.
I was just gonna say. So yeah, let's just jump into it. I was gonna say spoilers if you haven't seen it because it is only a couple weeks old.
Yeah.
If you
Two to
haven't
be
seen,
exact.
yeah, 2 weeks old. So if you haven't seen Luther on Netflix, go check that out and then come back and watch us. If you don't mind being spoiled, or if you've seen it, watch along with us and comment and let us know what you think. Keelan, Luther, The Fallen Son. What were your first impressions?
Well, first impressions and something that I found out is the movie Luther was made for, of course, those who are familiar with the series, but it was made for us to be able to just jump in and not need to be familiar with the series. So, um, contextually, I was told we will miss, and we did miss nothing by watching this film. Um, but my first impressions, I didn't hate it. It was interesting. It made me wish I had seen more than one, I think maybe two episodes of the series Luther, which were actually enjoyable episodes. I don't remember why I didn't go back. I'm thinking it's like, Netflix and all those things. There's so many different things to watch. You just lose track of certain things over time. So that's a partial impression of the subject matter that is Luther, but the movie, I liked it. I didn't dislike it. It was a little all over the place for a minute, but then I guess it comes together. But I think I might have been doing a little bit of the work that I typically do. We'll talk about that. Visually, didn't hate it. Uh, Dialogue and interaction wise, not sure. Yeah, let's just talk about it. I'm not sure how to even comment on that. Didn't hate it. Let's go there.
Okay, cool. So first impressions, good. I think, yeah, I'm still not really 100% sure about how I feel, if I'm being honest. I don't know if I liked it all that much. I thought, I mean, I like Idris Elba, so that's the problem, right? So like, I can be like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's kind of actiony,
Kept
and
seeing
Idris
Heimdall.
Elba. Well, yeah. Well, it's just it's an interesting character, and this sort of like hard nut detective that doesn't play by the rules is a trope that everybody's very familiar with. So the elements were there for me to like it. I just don't think that it did so at all. Luther as a character is not nothing to critique there, and Idris Elba's acting wasn't terrible. I think the biggest problem I had with it was the villain and Andy Serkis. I just
Mm,
don't think that he's the movie doesn't write him in a manner that makes me think that he's threatening for any reason except for doing the things that he's doing. And he also is about a foot and a half shorter than Luther and gets into a fight with him and somehow doesn't get his ass kicked. So yeah, the villain was a hard sell for me, and kind of along with the lines of what you were saying, it is a little bit all over the place, and I found myself dragging in the third act when they get to Siberia somehow, which we can get to later.
it's Norway and Siberia.
No, but I mean, it might as well have been. I mean, they
Okay,
were just
okay.
in London, and then they're like, "Oh, now we're in Norway."
And they only took a ferry. Listen, I was
Yeah.
confused, and honestly, I didn't get the chance to look that up because I didn't think about it after the fact.
Mhm.
But confused as well. But that's what the last 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
About that.
interestingly enough. With that, yeah. Again, I didn't hate it, but there were parts. Um, I might even watch it again.
Mm.
I can
I
say
don't
that
know if I
now. 'Cause,
will.
maybe. You
I
know
thought
what? Depends on who I watch it with. Like,
right.
if I were to watch before we even start talking about the movie, right? If I were to watch the series and then talk about the movie with people who have watched the series, I'm down. Um, or just in general, listening to people who've seen the series talk about the movie. I could watch it again with them. But I don't know if I could watch it with anyone who hasn't seen it and who also doesn't know the other material because they'd be just like me the first time, and it's like I don't want to walk you through this
Yeah. I think that the movie made me wanna watch the show for sure,
for sure.
and
Yeah,
see how good that is because, again, it does feel a little bit Sherlock-esque, at least the BBC's version of Sherlock. And it seems like it could be an interesting show, but the movie just for me, it doesn't deliver a whole lot of the things that I was thinking it was going to be. But we should just jump into this.
yeah. I do
I don't
want to
know.
say as we're jumping
Yeah.
in, I feel like this movie was actually the segue into a show and not the segue out of a show.
Maybe it was a prequel. Maybe you're right. I have no idea.
No, no, it's supposed to be after. It's not supposed to be after.
After the show.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, maybe they're just trying to tease that there's going to be another season or something like that coming out. But yeah, so Luther is a detective, and we get that he doesn't play by the rules, and he's a renegade. Um, but there's this
vigilante.
case. Yeah, there's a case that he's really obsessed with, and he's really trying to figure out. And um, I don't know if they kind of give away the whole thing at the beginning, and I wasn't
Which I think
stoked
that was the
about that.
purpose. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was the purpose. Like so I liked the way they led us into everything. They put us right behind one of the victims. They go from putting us behind the victims to in front of Luther, and then you see exactly who the villain is from the beginning. You don't really know where there's a connection, and because this is a detective movie, which we already know from the beginning, I think they're playing on that. And there's supposed to be some overstanding issue between the villain, and when you know the villain and you know this main character detective, you're supposed to find some overstanding issue. So I think they were kind of dangling that in front of our face intentionally, consistently, so that we would keep waiting for this big reveal on why we're supposed to catch on to this. And I mean, from the beginning, we're told, and I didn't believe it, at least, that no, there's no big connection to Luther. Luther's the big bad copper. So yeah, the only connection is getting Batman out the way.
Yeah.
Nobody else is gonna work that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the beginning, Luther is trying to solve this case of a kid that gets a phone call and is told to go to a specific location where he sees a dead body near a car. And after investigating, because I didn't know, was that the location that he was supposed to be at, or was it the car
Yeah, no,
before
that's where
the
he was.
location?
That's where they wanted him to be.
Okay. Right. So he's investigating this car that's on the road with a body that's kind of outside of the car. And he then gets snatched up by the guy that's laying down
Right.
on the floor. Um, and this is sort of a case that Luther is very obsessed with. This
Mhm.
case. Can you just give me 1 second? You want to vamp on that real quick?
Right.
Okay.
As far as Luther, I don't not sure how obsessed he was, but Luther got in on the case. And as he comes up, the very first thing that he's asked or he gets drug into is he comes in, he's doing his job. And Luther meets the mother of the kid who was picked up. And by him meeting the mother, he's meeting the mom, and she's simply just, oh no, but you have to find my son. You have to find who did this. You have to find who did this. And Luther's like, yeah, I'll do my best, but
No,
no, that's
promise
not
me.
enough. And as soon as that happens, now we saw the kid get snatched, we saw the killer, and then
Mhm,
the mom's like, "Oh, you have to do this." I'm like, "All right, all right." Now I see how Luther get. Like honestly, I was rolling my eyes already. I was like, "All right,
mhm.
now we see how Luther gets pulled in." And I literally paused the movie and just thought for a minute. I was like, "That's that bullshit." I'm like, "That's how y'all gonna do me?" Okay, Luther. Like if I'm Luther, right? It's not fair.
No.
It's not fair. I have to
Mm-mm.
promise you, and this dude gets to just stand over here on the side. Okay, all right, cool.
Right.
Um, and that's really and that's why I'm not sure if he was obsessed
I
as much as
guess.
he was forced by the source by the plot line.
It's definitely forced by the plot line, and the mother is definitely out of pocket because,
Yeah,
she comes back up in the story, so,
yeah. So like
um
he's forcibly obsessed. I think he does become obsessed later after after they put him in prison. He becomes obsessed.
right, right. So, the villain what's the villain's name?
We find out the villain's name is David, but again, we don't find that out until the last 30 minutes of the movie. After they
True,
found
right. So David is at the crime scene because he's a stereotypical murderer,
murderer,
and
serial
he's
killer.
he's there, and he's mad that Luther is now a part of the investigation. And he's
Mhm.
even more mad because there's not an online presence and he doesn't have enough information about Luther. So
Yeah,
he makes a phone call to his, I guess, his troll farm in Estonia,
yeah.
to dig up information about Luther. And then we cut to, the news talking about how he's a loose cannon cop that practiced vigilantism
Mhm.
and witness intimidation. And
And, like,
he's going to jail for it.
sound like some trumped up charges from the beginning.
It definitely was.
Didn't sound like something an actual cop in any circumstance would be going to prison for. But this is the UK, so I want to make sure
Mhm.
that I don't categorize them with American policing simply because they have different rules, tactics, etc., etc. Um, for all we know, that's how that really would play out over there.
Maybe, I mean, that is fine, but in movie land, normally people don't care that you're
Yeah,
doing that type
in
of
any
stuff.
movie, Bond
Yeah,
wouldn't have gotten away with that one.
right, right.
Or excuse me, no, no. Bond would have. Sorry, Bond would have gotten away with that one.
I mean, that's his entire job is to is to do stuff
Get
like that.
get away with the nonsense.
Yeah, yeah. So Luther gets sent to prison, but don't worry, he's not going to be there long. He gets into a couple scuffles in prison
Master.
because he's an ex, well, he's a cop, and
God,
he's got a target on his back. But he's
yeah.
got a plan to escape. He's got a plan. He has that iPhone under his bed.
Which I guess he had that the whole time, but he has no family to contact. So
And I'm sorry, it's just literally under his mattress. You mean to tell me they don't check your mattress, man? Come on.
he probably keisters it when they come.
That was one of those iPhone Pros too. It wasn't a small iPhone. Yeah, wider screen. Yeah,
Pancakes.
pancakes. Yeah. So he's able to make contact with the outside world. He calls in this favor with a guy that I guess he's probably worked for before, and I think that that's probably a character from the show.
I'm sure that's a callback to the show.
Yeah.
First, let's be. I have a whole theory about that, but the whole discussion with Detective or DCI Rain from the very
Hmm.
beginning,
Hmm.
stupid. I'm calling you from prison. I am the top cop that had to go down for if you made it to this position, some shit that you would have had to do too. I just got taken down for it, right? All right, cool. because nothing they talked about was he wasn't doing no grand larceny, extortion, murder, for hire type business. He wasn't on none of that. Everything
Mm-mm.
they said, violation of property, treason. I was literally listening, like, no. But anyway, I'm not saying that he should be able to do those things. What I'm saying is, her in that position, it's like most police or cops that get to that position understand some of the tactics, even if they might be over the line. So him calling you with all of the information he's calling you with, even if you don't respect him in the line of duty anymore, you'd respect the information because you know the person with the skills is still there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it didn't really make sense that she didn't know who he was.
Right. And
He's only been gone, I don't even I mean, couldn't
a
even
year.
begin a
It was a year.
year? Okay,
It was a
alright.
year. But and what I'm saying, and I'm not, I'm talking about TV movie cops and stuff. I don't really know how the rest of that, like the real life stuff, go. But the TV movie cop, that's usually how it's gonna play out. They're gonna take all the information they can from any place they can. So when she kind of like just throws him off to the side, I'm like, oh, he about to get out.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Literally, the next scene is him making the call.
Yeah, yeah. So he makes arrangements for an escape, but in order for him to escape, he has to cause a prison riot.
Yeah.
Um, and he
Um,
has to get, roughed up because he wants to transfer to a different prison.
yeah. He tells his buddy cops inside the prison to get him transferred. They let a riot start, so they let him flood in on him, which it was only like four people trying to get in the cell, but whatever. Um, now the guy who saves him, who comes out and gets him, who he calls out, the guy never really confirmed, which I thought was funny. Um, but he does it anyway. Next thing you know, guy pops
Mhm.
up, boo, they save him. So what I think is, I think that dude is like a vigilante type as well,
Yeah,
that Luther just knows of.
right.
And Luther's a cop. This guy couldn't be a cop, whatever the hell, however, why. Um, and at the end of the day, yeah, he's a criminal, but we share a common thread, and we don't like certain types of people. Like this dude might be the type of killer that only kills the type that take out kids and women and stuff like that.
Yeah, he seems like a street fixer, you know what I mean?
Something of that nature. Yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that. Where,
Blade.
yeah, you can get a cleaning crew for you or, something
hmm
like that.
He knows how to make things move.
Right.
So I think that's what that was about, more so than him being a friend, because it's very clear nobody likes John Luther, not even his friend.
Yeah.
Like his
I
own
don't even
friend
think
tells
he
people, "Hey,
likes
don't trust him."
himself all that much.
That's a fair case.
Yeah.
Can't wait to watch the show and find out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he gets out of prison and now he's on a mission. He's got to find, well, we missed the part where the killer sends the
Oh,
recording
right.
of the boy the case that he was obsessed with,
Yeah,
and basically sends him like a recording through FM radio, uh,
it's crazy.
of him killing the kid and then talking to him like, "Hey, John,"
Remember
So
me?
it's on now because
Yeah,
somehow the killer was able to send. I mean, it was playing FN radio, so basically anybody who could have changed that channel, I guess,
right.
and heard it. But yeah, so he's now on a mission to find this killer because he knows he's out there. And um, yeah, I don't know. Everything in the midsection kind of gets a little bit jumbly for me.
Yeah, well, they have
Um,
to introduce us to all the characters, make it all make sense, piece it together, show us who's the mole, who's the big top. Um, everybody has their nooks and crannies, and who's really the good and the bad people. That's really what we get all in the middle.
yeah.
Um, for instance, getting DCI Rain and just her air of like, I have it all, I know it all, I'm right here, and it's like, no, you can really just take this help. Like nobody's even trying to take your job. You can just take this help.
Yes, right. Yeah. But you have to have the cop that has to be by the book and then, then the loose
Mhm.
cannon cop. So,
Well, yeah, that's how you open the door for Luther to become a vigilante and to get back out into the streets. Is they have to deny him access, and the only way to do that
mm,
is for DCI Rain to totally ignore him.
yeah. Right. Right. So he's hunting this Andy Circus character. And I can't buy him as a villain, man. What was his motivation?
He's born this way.
Oh, born this way. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
His whole appeal is to all of the other people who feel inside they just don't belong and they want to do malicious and vile things to other people, but they feel boxed in and restricted by the world.
Boy,
His
was I
message is
glad to
brilliant.
see that it was just white men in that group of
No, no, it
people.
wasn't.
It
No, it
was
wasn't.
like 99% white dudes.
Yeah, 97
Yeah.
percent. I agree with.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
97%. I saw
Yeah, yeah.
two black guys and maybe one Hispanic dude. Like legit.
I think I
I
saw
can't say I seen
maybe.
anything more than that. I can't
Yeah.
even say I saw one woman.
No,
I
I
cannot say I
can't I
seen
don't
any
think
women.
so.
But yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, so apparently Andy Serkis is running a red room, and a red room is like this urban legend about the deep internet and how there possibly was this time or this occurrence when people would pay to watch
Hostile.
others get maimed in awful ways and eventually murdered.
Digital
Um,
hostile. That's what it came down to.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. And he's running this thing from Estonia, and he has like this troll farm from Estonia that does all of his sleuthing for him.
Hmm.
And he's running a blackmail ring. Um, so he's doing a lot of stuff. He's not just a blackmailer. He's not just like a mass murderer. He's not
Hmm.
just a
He's a
he-
mastermind.
yeah. And I think he's doing a little too much, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I did like the angle they were trying to take once I really put that together.
Hmm.
He's the Red Room mastermind, a human trafficking, kidnap, and all these things. Now, I didn't like the aspect of that, but just the thought in a movie, like you don't usually see in a movie where they try to give you so many complexities. It's they're a murderer, the human traffic, they're a scientist, um, or a guy like in this situation, they would just call him a terrorist. They didn't give him a label. They just you find out he's just David, and David's a broken man. And David's been a broken man for a long time, and he just wants somebody to see that he's a broken man. Um, the most interesting thing about that is usually that character doesn't have an entire movie. That character is the guy that you meet in a cell after the main character, which isn't the good guy usually, but after one of the other main villains ends up in prison or something, you meet this guy for like 5 minutes. He's not
Yeah.
usually the main villain. So that was really interesting because that's how I looked at him. I looked at him like I forget Edward Nigma. What he is to me what Jim Carrey's Riddler should have been.
I see him more like trying to be like the Joker thing, like
I
sort
agree
of
with
like
that. I see what you
the
yeah.
the chaotic evil, not really wanting to uh have anything particular, wanting to be this chaos agent for all these things. There was actually an episode of Sherlock that did this pretty well.
Mhm.
Um and I'm only thinking that because of the Piccadilly Circus scene where he's got all those people at the edge of the buildings.
Right.
Um I don't know, like, I guess you could maybe force somebody to jump to their death, but, like, it's gotta be something really, really bad that they did, right?
Shame. No, shame.
Yeah.
Think of Archie. Archie even said himself what he did. It's not even that bad, but he still didn't want to keep going.
I guess,
Dude
yeah.
said himself that
Shame
what he
is
did wasn't that bad.
I know, I definitely understand. I mean, shame can definitely social ostracization can definitely be a
Hmm.
powerful thing, but,
Hmm.
um
Well, in first world societies.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think in any community, because if you get kicked out of your own
Oh,
clan
that's
or
true.
tribe, then you're
That's true.
basically dead anyways.
Mhm.
So yeah, I get your point about that for sure. But I did feel it a little bit. I needed a little bit more to believe that these people really would have put themselves in these situations. Um,
Mm.
you know, because like yeah, the other guy, there was a good position. It was the guy that had the transponder,
Mhm.
the guy that Luther first goes to when he's out of
Right.
prison, and
Right.
he's trying to talk to him in the tattoo parlor. He says that the Andy Circus's character made him assault another man under the guise that they had a consensual
Yeah.
encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Blackmailed
and
him into having blackmail on him.
right, right. Which I guess then is cause enough to be like, oh god, yeah, like that's awful.
Yeah.
Um, but again,
Hey,
yeah, I don't
just
know.
preying on people, preying on
Preying
weak-minded
on
people.
people. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Very true.
And that's I think now again that's why for me the character I can't say I dislike that character so much. Maybe they could have played up his insanity a little bit. Either play it up or dial it down a little bit more. Make him much calmer or make him much more exciting.
Right.
Um, where he played him, again, I can't say I dislike because he still executed the role. Like we understand what he was trying to convey, what he was trying to get across. That was still accepted and visualized. But we would have liked to see more. Like it does leave you wanting.
Yeah. And Andy Serkis is, no offense,
Indeed.
but his stature is so small that
Mhm.
I just couldn't find him a physical threat to a
To
six
Luther.
three Idris Elba. Like Idris Elba is a tank, and Andy Serkis is a very short guy. And when they had to fight each other in that scene, I was thinking to myself, "Come on, let's be
Look,
honest."
Idris Elba is so big that the guys they hired to bump into him in the prison still weren't big enough.
They did look kind of small, didn't they? Yeah, they
There's
did.
there are big actors out there, but you're giving them better roles. You hiring guys my size that just got like about 215 on them.
Uh-huh.
You hiring
Right.
them to walk next to Idris Elba. They walking chin up, tiptoeing up, and everything, and they still not tall enough.
No, yeah, he was towering over some people. Um, oh, here we go. Corey's here. What's going on, Corey? He said
Need to
needed to
Bruce Lee him up.
Bruce Lee. Yeah, Bruce Lee him up. Yes.
What up, Corey? Take out the knees. That's what we talking about, Corey.
Hey, man, Bruce Lee was able to fight even though he wasn't the tallest guy. That's
Man,
for
Bruce
sure.
Lee hit you with that speed, baby. He,
Mhm.
what was that?
Apparently, David
Ooh.
just is very good with a karambit, and that's why he is so deadly because he can do his little flippy thing with his
He
knife.
he definitely was moving like an anime character at that speed.
Yeah.
The way he was running through that crowd, I was like,
I just
man, he
keep
should have
I
been a
just
fullback or a running back. Ooh, excuse me.
it's such a problem because all I could see was Golem, and it just it that's all I could
There.
see the entire time.
And you know what? And I blame him and I blame direction for that. Or production, however, whomever will be responsible. Because he
Yeah.
was covered up a lot and they had him kind of on the
Skulking. Yeah.
that's the word. Yeah, he was skulking
Mhm.
quite a bit. Now had he, again, give him a little, you would have saw all five, four of them.
What's funny is that he's more of a unit in Black Panther than
Pause.
he is.
Sorry.
Alright. You
Wasn't
got
letting that
me.
go.
Um, no, he's
But
he's a
yeah.
lot more intimidating as Victor Claw. Is it Victor Claw?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forget. I think it is Victor Claw. Craven
Mhm.
Claw? I think it is Victor. Is the first. Anyway, but yeah, I know what you're
Ravenclaw.
talking about. Craven
Yeah.
Claw. I mean, some
Um
shit I'm gonna make up. I don't know.
Yeah, he was much more, I guess, formidable is probably a better word in that
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
than he is in this one. This one, I just couldn't believe that he'd have any power. Like, why he was wealthy too,
Mhm.
obviously. So was he
Well,
wealthy because he was killing people?
scamming. He was wealthy from scamming.
Scamming.
So
Okay,
you
gotcha.
got to think. So I think one of the biggest tip offs here is this is a digital world now. So he might not even had any real money, but digital currency. So if you could fake the bank accounts and stuff, you can be in these penthouses and jump.
Mhm. Right, because he has a whole team of hackermans that
Right
can,
now,
put
how
money into his bank
why they
accounts.
yeah, right now why they work for him, I don't know.
I have no idea either
That part was never proven. Why is he the big boss in charge? I don't know.
because he
And if he
pays
has as
them to
much
be.
power as he has,
Yeah.
why didn't he just blackmail the cops into keeping Luther in prison from the beginning?
Man, I mean, he has that much power. He has a fortress. Why was he doing any of those things? And apparently, you can pay Estonians like $10 a day to be data miners for you or something.
Yeah, he
I don't
was
know.
talking something about that, huh?
I don't know what he was paying them, but it's just funny because he has like a whole farm
No,
of
no, no, yeah, but he
people
was talking
looking
about
stuff up.
having the people there doing the shit.
Yeah,
Having
yeah,
that could just be the way I wrote it down. But yeah, yeah, no, no. He was able to control quite a bit with no explanation.
yeah. Yeah, and then this in the Piccadilly Circus scene, that's really kind of like where everything is supposed to hit a sort of mid-movie climax. I thought that was kind of goofy. I don't know why all the cars kept crashing into each
Right.
other for no
I
reason.
assume that a few of those cars were people who were told to crash as well.
Ah, okay, see, that would have been a good angle. I
Yeah,
would have
at least
liked
get
that a
one
little bit
inside of
more.
one of the cars. Yeah, because
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
the only thing that made sense. Like, okay, a couple of these people were told to crash on purpose.
Right.
Um,
And then a bus gets between the police and them at one point too, and I'm
mhm,
like, have just move a foot away. You guys could be in the line of sight again."
right, you'd
Yeah.
be perfectly fine there.
Mhm.
Um, sorry.
Oh, you good.
But yeah, so in that moment when the with the people were flying, I was thinking to myself, this would be a perfect bodies hit the floor song type moment. And what it made me realize was I only remember really hearing one song in this entire movie, and it was a very, very short moment at the very
Mm.
beginning, which was when Column that's funny. We had calm the other day and column today. That's interesting.
A lot of
Yeah.
Irish people in our movies lately.
Yeah. Like I'm
What's
sitting here
going
like,
on?
is that the other movie? Like, no, that was this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had Column listening to Willow Smith.
Oh, okay.
I was
Fair
like,
enough.
is that what he's listening to? Okay. I guess she's going crazy in the UK.
Mm. So because of the pandemonium that David is able to sort of orchestrate, he's able to escape, and Luther follows him down into the subway system.
Yeah.
And then there's a fight. Then they have a fight once they're sort of at the end of the line there, and Luther almost gets shoved. His face almost gets shoved into the third rail, and you can hear it hissing and popping. And all of 150-pound Andy Circus is pushing 250-pound Idris Elba's face down and
Right.
totally dominating the fight, which was
Action
believable,
hero
I guess.
Idris Elba.
Yeah, action hero Idris Elba.
Man,
Yeah.
what's Hollywood got with these action heroes picking on little? Never mind.
Oh, well, it's just a war between they just want to start a war between the shorts and the talls. That's all.
Ah, I thought you said an
Yeah.
award. My bad.
Oh no, a war. Um, yeah, there was a mini war in this movie between a short and a tall, and
Definitely.
the short with the karambit really won. He was able to stab Luther. Luther gets
Yeah,
stabbed the first time he
sliced
gets
up
stabbed.
nice.
Yeah, because he's stabbed twice in this movie.
He gets
Uh,
on both sides. It's like they wanted to take out his liver, his kidney, his pancreas. I don't know where those things are.
Right. But David manages to escape because he cuts up a cop in the femoral artery, and
Jamal.
they have Jamal. Yes, poor Jamal. He didn't
Poor
get to
Jamal.
live very long.
He didn't make it.
No, he
He
didn't
had a
make it.
name, and most
He
of the
he
other
did.
officers don't get names.
That's true. That's true. And he got some speaking lines too, so that
Yep.
goes for his SAG credit.
Speaking lines and a memory.
Mhm.
That's a good
There you
point.
go.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad. So David, the villain, gets away, and this is where I'm getting a little hazy. Luther goes after him, but
Mhm.
how does he escape?
So Jamal, Officer Jamal, the officer runs up, and Luther is trying to tell him, "Cuff him, cuff him. I'll get
Right.
down with for you. Cuff him." He ain't
Mhm.
listening. He takes the butt of his gun, his assault rifle, and he hits Luther in the back of the head. And as he's holding David at gunpoint, David cuts his femoral artery.
Right. And then
I don't
they
know why he
have
got that quote.
Luther, and then they have Luther go after David, but does
It's like
David
30
escape
minutes
at
later.
that? Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
already
David got away. It was he chases after David, but this is a firm like easily 8 minutes later because you got to remember first he tried to help save
yeah,
Jamal.
right.
He
That's
took
true.
his belt off and all of that so that they could take the help him. And Jamal's the one who told him leg it, because he remembered working with him, and he didn't have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
we
it
worked
ever
on
again.
that one case. You remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
remember when I knew you were a good cop and I didn't have to hit you to begin with, but now I'm apologizing for hitting you because you're trying to save my life. Yeah.
Right. Well, they got to establish a rapport when you're applying a tourniquet. It's
Hmm.
a very intimate thing to do.
But then we see he heals himself. Excuse me. He patches himself up. He calls Detective DCI
Rain.
Rain. Yeah, there we go.
Hmm.
Odette. That was what I
He did.
remember. He
Hmm.
called Odette, and she blames him for Jamal. And it's like, he ain't the one who sent the order for Jamal to chase after the dude.
No, and he's not the one that stabbed the guy.
He's not right. He's the last time I checked, Luther is putting his life on the line after already being put in prison so that he could save y'all from an evil that y'all not even listening to him about. So instead of
Yeah,
talking
you
to y'all, he done got out of prison to do it himself.
yeah, you're a step behind every time. Like, he's the only one that's keeping you current to this.
Which is
Um,
exactly why the whole point from the beginning was getting him out of the way.
mhm,
Like there
right,
was a plan to get him out of the way. That's how icy that was.
right.
Now, why him? I didn't see any particular set of skills at any point in this until the very end, like holding your breath for 20 minutes after being stabbed twice, those kind of
No,
things.
no, yeah, we yeah. No, 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 no. Anyways, so what happens after he gets
Camaraderie.
David gets away, and then he calls
Um, he
Idris
calls
Elba
Archie.
calls
No, no, no,
Archie.
no. The killer, or excuse me, they cut his femoral artery, excuse me, and Luther runs after him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he calls Archie immediately after. That's the first thing that happens, and he's basically like, "Yo, I thought this dude was in prison. We'll blackmail you some more, and we'll send all
Oh,
your
right.
shame to people."
Yes.
Um, and
And
that's when we
Archie is
find
the
out that
mole
Archie's the mole,
inside the police. Yeah.
right? And Martin knows. He sees it immediately. He's, shoot, we got to worry about this one. What's going on with him?
Right. Right.
Um,
Corey says when the op goes bad, the straight arrow cop always is in cover your ass mode. Yeah,
Man, every single time.
it's true.
That's one of the most annoying things in films, honestly. It's like, listen, cops and can't catch criminals if they never get the in movies. Cops can never catch criminals if they never get the ability to say, "Hey, what's he thinking about?"
Mm,
It's like
yeah.
movies just sometimes don't give the officer that ability. Like, nah, they gonna see, they just gonna put two and two together. That's all.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a part of our glorious cinematic history of propaganda towards the police, right? It's like
mhm,
the only way they can ever solve a crime is by circumventing the law.
and that goes across the
Right.
board in any
Yeah,
country. They've always said
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, with that being said, Luther is no different and no other cop, but Luther's in prison for it. And when it comes to the light or to the face of other cops, they act as if they know nothing of it.
Mm.
And thus, guys like David are able to get away with things that he's done, including things like bring harm to those that he even loves to get his way.
Man, he should have gone under a moniker or something. This
That would
David
have been so
name.
cool.
It
David
would have been
Brody.
yeah, it would have been so much better if he had
And
like a nom de plume or something like that. Like they find
the
it's just
face.
my
Red.
name is David.
No. My name's David.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Red Room Runner. Yeah, even when he did the hosting, he didn't have a name.
right.
He just started hosting.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the movie makes a point of how significant it is that Rain knows the guy's name, as if that his name is of any importance to any of us.
The name basically, so apparently there was some level of a murder or something done that the person was never caught or something like that, and it just got left, and it might have been one of his kills. With that being part of it, his wife was aware that he had been doing these things for some time.
Hmm.
And I think she was gonna tell on him, and that was only 2 or 3 years, I think they said, when she got into her fire accident.
Yes, her fire accident that
Yeah,
was totally not David.
not at all.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. So what's going on in the movie now? Um,
So in the movie,
Everything gets blurry here.
David calls to his guy, and um, you see, basically he's letting them know everything is on the up and up. They're getting ready to set up the website, and that's when we find out
Right.
about the website. And then Luther, oh yeah, like I said, Luther was patching himself up. But then by this time he's called Rain. They have a discussion, and he's trying to tell her that he understands now. He's figured out the motive for the killer and the method. So the motive is, they want to. I mean, excuse me. The motive is he's sadistic and he enjoys it, like he's getting off on it. The method is they kidnap people and then they put it on display when they do what they're doing.
Right. They find people for blackmail first, I
Oh
think,
yes,
to
and they
do
find people
the
for blackmail. That was the other
yeah.
method. Okay, yeah, thank you for that.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there you go. After that, he goes and he takes Rain's daughter, which we don't understand how or why he's going for her, but then you realize later Luther even makes that make sense. You got too close. You found something
Right.
out, and Luther was too close from the beginning because he was the head investigator, and everybody knows who DCI Luther is. DCI Luther,
Well,
I need everything you have on him.
and we need to have an emotional attachment to the 3rd act because if the daughter isn't kidnapped, then it really doesn't matter.
That's the fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact because they're not going this far for anybody that's not attached to one of the members. Honestly, I thought it was just going to be Archie.
Right.
Like, yeah, they already kind of got to him, so all right, let's just snatch him up. But that's not what they did.
Mhm.
They took the daughter, and Luther goes to Column's mother. They talk. He's telling her about, there has to be somebody and that's when she tells him about Tommy. Talks about Tommy just a little bit, and he's kind of like, "Yeah, Tommy fits the description I just gave you for that guy I'm looking for that possibly took
Oh, right.
his
Yes,
Nazi
because
stuff,
now they're dating each other
or yeah, or what have you."
or
But
something.
again, he caught her vulnerable. She weak. She just want
Oh,
somebody. Some
Colin's mom is way out of pocket too because she blames Luther at some point too, and I'm like, "What? Come on,
she does
man."
what?
She blamed Luther for her
Oh
son's
yeah,
death.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You said you were gonna find him. You kind of forced me to say that so that you would
Yeah,
feel
you
better.
made me promise on the spot. I just met you.
It literally only had me do it so that you would feel better. There was no benefit to it.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, lady.
So
So the daughter gets kidnapped,
yeah, the
and
daughter gets
now
kidnapped, and
and now Rain and Luther sort of need to have a team up, but
yeah,
Rain first is going to turn Luther in.
yeah, she has to fire Martin and don't tell nobody. And then she goes and she's trying to tell Luther, "Hey, I'm taking you in," and try to scare him and junk. But that ain't what happened. They end up trying to figure out how to work together, and they go to talk to David's wife, Georgette. Which I'm like, wait, how y'all? And then I realized, like, oh, they did talk about Georgette like a few scenes right before this, but it was like so short lived that I almost missed it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's
And
when they go and meet her.
we need to have a character that knows the villain because none of us do.
Nobody knows the villain.
Nobody knows the villain,
And
so
why
we
not?
need to
Why
have
not his
somebody
second or third victim, aka his wife?
right. Yeah. Yeah. She would know.
Yeah, because yeah, and clearly, like you said, back to the money, they clearly have a good fund because
Mhm.
that doctor and stuff ain't cheap.
Oh, yeah, she's got, like, 24-hour care. So
Definitely has 24-hour care. So yeah, they go talk to her and find out about Norway, and Norway is basically where they're running the Red Room. And the
Norway.
key, the key there was when Odette told Georgette, Odette and Georgette shared to her that she had a child and that David had taken her daughter. And she's like, "I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know. And this is the address.
Yes.
So you can
Yes.
go get your daughter. But don't tell that big man over there that I told you. That's why I'm whispering."
Yes. Solidarity. Yeah. So they have to go to Norway, which is a very convenient ferry ride away from London.
Man, a ferry ride and a short drive. And next thing you know, you're only a mile and a half away because
And
you got stuck in the snow.
not just like it's not like it's Oslo. It's not like it's the city in Norway. It's like in a mountain range.
Desolate. And it's the
It
only
looks
path,
like
and the
the
path is
north
totally carved out.
from it looks like north of the wall from Game of Thrones.
Dang, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing there.
It was a wall of snow. I was like, why would they? I wouldn't trust driving through that.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
go drive
But
through a wall of snow.
there's an iced over manor that's off in the distance, and
Hmm.
that's apparently where the Red Room is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it turns out there's a bunker under the house.
Right. Because nobody ever I guess they left the windows and doors open, so everything in the house is frozen
Frozen.
over.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Also in the house they had a staged um body as if it were Odette's daughter to spook her.
Mhm.
and it worked. It spooked her, scared her, separated the two of them because she turned on Luther and told him, get out, get out. It's your fault.
Mhm.
Um, I
And then
think
she gets
that,
swiftly abducted.
yeah, I think that was like one of the simplest, like one of the dumbest moments because it was like, really, that's how you're gonna go about that? All right. Um, Only because not in her, her reacting. I'm saying that's how in general. Like I'd expect Luther to understand her snapping, but not to actually leave.
Mhm.
You know, her going
And
off the way
not
she
leave
went
far
off.
enough for her to get abducted right
That's what I mean.
afterwards.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He going off. He turned. He see a shadowy figure. He follows the figure. Like, bro, you supposed to go back, check on her, and be like, yo, I saw something. Let's go.
Mhm.
Like, no, I understand, but do you want to catch him? Let's go. Not leave her
Right.
to
Right.
get crept up on and zip tied around her neck.
That was pretty crucial. I thought
I'm
that
trying
was
to figure
pretty.
out why they take it off because
How'd they take it off?
that too,
If it's that close to your
mostly
neck,
that
that's gonna
actually.
be a problem trying to get
Oh my
off.
god, yeah, mostly how they take it off. You definitely be
Yeah.
bleeding.
Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm. Hey, look, you just made
Hmm.
me go deeper in thought.
Things
Didn't
that
think
make
about
you
that.
go, "Hmm."
Things that make you go.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So they get taken down into the dungeon where
yeah, now
the
they're both
main
been captured.
event. Yes, the main event is about to happen. The much anticipated Red Room that has 180,000 people watching, I think at one point they
At one
said.
point, yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, at more because it was like 180,000 when it was still getting started.
Right, that's right. Yeah. So there's a lot of people watching this, and all of
Mhm.
these people are just like David, where they're just different, man. They just like to kill people. And I don't know why you guys are being so judgmental about that.
Yeah, most of them
Frankly,
were just hiding, watching it.
I mean, and David gives this whole speech about, frankly, it's everybody else's problem that we're the ones that, like to murder people. You were
Hmm.
just misunderstood.
Hmm.
Um, I
I
don't
only saw
know.
one of those people with a background that insinuated that they were like literally a creepy little murderer too. Just
Right.
one.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of strange.
The black dude worked construction.
Yeah, there were just random people watching it. I guess that's like supposed to be like, oh, the depravity of your everyday human is,
Yeah,
like they're
you never
willing to
know.
watch stuff, right? You never know
I
exactly.
mean, you watch enough snap shows, you find out you really never know.
Mm. So we get this before the main room or the main red room event. The preamble is now going to be Luther and Rain and her daughter in a sort of manufactured torture loop where they start, where they have to torture each other, sort of thing. Uh, oh, you're on mute. Sorry. Some of
I thought I just
hey,
unmuted that. That's the crazy
hey.
part. Yeah, they get there, or at least seemingly, it's like they're gonna be forced into this loop that Luther quickly breaks after he's the one who stabbed, but he quickly breaks that loop. Um,
Yes, because Rain stabs him, but stabs him very particularly.
mhm.
I didn't know why David didn't think that that wasn't a like. So did David want her to stab him in a non-fatal way? Because that's what it seems like.
Yeah, actually, I'm guessing so.
Because he wanted her to smash, or he wanted him to smash her
Smash her knee.
kneecaps.
Yeah, he didn't want to kill him. He
Yeah,
wanted to torture them.
right. So how does
Yeah.
she know how to stab somebody without killing them?
She's a cop.
Yeah, I know, but she's not an
I know.
anatomist.
I don't know
I
either.
don't know.
She know that he knew how to shift his organs just so right in this
Right,
area.
right. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, 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 yeah. He did some breathing exercise and moved his spleen over.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
about 2.2 inches that way.
Right,
Perfectly fine.
right, right. So Luther gets stabbed, but it's not bad. It's just a flesh wound,
Mhm.
as with all movies. And then it's his turn. He has to dole out punishment, and he is supposed to kneecap or basically hobble Rain, but he decides he's not going to do it. What he does instead is humiliate David, and it works.
Yeah, basically, he tells well, he begins by telling everybody viewing that their IP addresses are being followed, and they're all going to get visits from the police, and that the police are on their way. and they know exactly where David is already, which actually was true because they had already found the website.
Yeah.
Um, but actually, they were told they couldn't find the website. But either way, they already knew where they. How did they know where they were? Because they called it. No, yeah. They knew exactly where they were because they called it in, and they knew the passwords would be tracked. Fast
Right.
forward. Um, he tells him that, and then he starts, yeah, basically bullying him verbally. That's what they call it, right?
Well, it's
Bullying.
only because Andy Serkis is such a formidable human that Idris Elba couldn't beat him up. So he had to go to
To
the
talk bad
verbal.
about him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You,
Uh,
you weak, pathetic man. That's what she said, isn't it? That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And lucky for everybody, Andy Serkis's character is emotionally and mentally fragile. So,
Yeah.
um,
Which was the basis of his character.
right. So mocking him works, apparently, and that totally throws everything off. He runs
Which is
away.
interesting because he was just, sipping hard whiskey and sitting in the penthouse about 2 days before that.
Bro, there's a frozen lake full of bodies of people that he's
Man.
murdered.
Like that part was kind of cool. Like crazy, but from a
Yeah.
business stand, like excuse me, movie stance, like having that on film, like just figuring it out that way. Like, we should just have a litany of body pools everywhere. Excuse me.
Hmm.
What do you mean when you say body pools? Like, yeah, frozen lakes full of bodies. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So the man that can fill lakes with bodies also gets his fifis hurt when he's
His
made fun of.
fifis, not his fifis. Not his
I mean, that's
fifis.
pretty much what it is, right? He runs away because of it.
God. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's just you call them fifis, and that's funny.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, he gets his feelings hurt, and he goes hitchhiking, and basically tries to or locks Rain, her daughter, and his henchman Arcady locks
Mhm.
him all of them in a burn room and tries to set them on fire. And that's when I realized it was a bunker. I was like, whoa, this is a like not a basement, this is a bunker. Like
Mhm.
this is a science bunker. They trying to burn like science. Oh, what goes on in other places?
Who knows? But yes,
Like
so
a
this
science
this
house.
fight ensues between the henchman and then Rain and her daughter.
Yeah, in
While
kerosene,
they're while they're being rained on with kerosene.
bathe in
Um,
it.
he everybody is soaking in kerosene, which is very dangerous.
Mhm.
Um, and Luther is chasing after David. David's in his Range Rover. Luther manages to catch up to it just in the nick of time and open the back door and jump in. Then they have a fight inside the car, and Idris Elba still can't beat him,
Hey, look,
even though
that lets
he's
me
in the
know.
back seat. He
Right,
could have just
just choke 'em
he
out.
could have just choked him out. That was it.
That lets me know that whoever on the team of this, they know about car jitsu. I think that's what it's called.
Oh,
That
that's what it was.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
gotcha, gotcha.
I saw that
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, they've been watching YouTube too. Got it, got it.
right.
Over there,
Yes.
actually, over in UK, it's probably not even on YouTube. It's probably a televised show like network syndicated over there. BBC
Mm.
One top 50 shows.
Well, some car food definitely happens, and it causes them to drive into the frozen lake that we were just talking about.
Right. Yes, they drive into the frozen lake, and very quickly, David becomes one of the bodies. However,
Very quickly.
Luther, John Luther has gills apparently. Then he's able to hold his breath for quite some time, long enough to open the door on the submerged iPhone. I guess that can last, Lord knows how long underwater at the bottom of a lake because they've hit the bottom. And the divers dive
In
in before
frozen
he
water
passes out
too.
in frozen water. I was
Yes,
even surprised how fast the water didn't freeze back over for them to know exactly where to dive. Like, yo, water that frozen would have probably frozen back over as soon as it got still.
it would have been a less. Yeah, it would have been less, but yeah, definitely. The way David dies is much quicker, which is more believable because it's you
He's
got to think
panicking.
it's like 35-degree water,
Yeah.
and you're
There's no oxygen
basically
left in your body.
yeah, if it wasn't for not being able to breathe, you'd die of hypothermia within minutes anyways.
You know what? We're not being fair. You know why he
Uh,
survived is what we've been talking about this entire movie. He's larger.
right, there you go. He's got a
That's
bigger body
literally why
mass,
he
and
survived.
he's got the wool coat.
Yeah, like I don't know so much about the wool coat part, but that might be a
Yeah.
part of it. But his
No, no,
mass is
no,
why
it's
he
not.
survives.
Nah, it still would have killed him, but that's okay. He's the hero. He's gotta live.
So fair enough.
Luckily, he does save, the ladies, from the
Yeah.
kerosene,
Yes.
but not
Kerosene gas
before the
avoid.
henchman lights himself on fire.
Yes.
Um, and then they
And
try to
that
save
part
off the
takes place.
kerosene with water, and I'm like, "I don't know if that's a good idea."
I don't think that works.
I don't know if that works. It might create a lot of steam. It might yeah, like,
I think
yeah,
it just would have made the room very hard to see. I don't. I think probably would have
yeah.
created some kind of a toxic gas
It seemed like a
or
bad idea.
noxious gas more so than toxic. But yeah,
Yeah, it seemed like it shouldn't have happened, but, um yeah, Luther gets saved by the divers just in the nick of time, like,
immediately as soon as David's
immediately.
dead, it's time to save him.
So, the police were within seconds or minutes away.
Yeah, they
Um,
didn't even wait till the helicopter landed. They dove out of the chopper to save him.
so maybe we could have all gone together and done this as, like, an army and raided that place instead of having 2 cops go in. Uh,
Armed, get themselves all messed up and hurt.
yeah, yeah.
They both got toe up, toe up.
Yes, they did.
Um,
But Idris Elba wakes up in the ambulance and he still has his wet ass clothes on, but they put a space blanket on him, so he's okay, guys. Don't worry
yeah, he
about the
got
fact that he's in his soaking wet clothes.
two stab wounds,
Yeah.
just crashed
2
the car.
stab wounds.
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm all right. No, you are not.
He's got icicles forming on his clothing and he's
That's
dying of
the adrenaline, sir.
hypothermia. Yeah.
I'm all right.
Um,
I'm all right.
but he
That was
gets hella
poor
vacked out
paramedic.
and he wakes up in a hospital. And now he's okay 'cause he's been
He
stitched
doesn't
up.
wake up in the hospital.
Oh, he's not in a hospital. He's like in a weird manner that's
He's in a
being
government safe house.
right, a government safe house.
As soon as they say government safe house, you know what I started thinking, right?
James Bond.
MI6? Yep,
Yeah,
James
that's what
Bond.
I said.
I was like,
Yeah.
James Bond? MI6? I was like, oh, I see what they did here.
Mhm.
That was clever. Like, oh, he had to take a test trial. Test trial number one, you got to get out and you got to solve this. Or you just
Right.
gonna watch people die. You gonna watch people die, John Luther? Mm?
Mhm.
John Luther? You gonna watch people die, John Luther? John Luther was like, all right, mate, I'll call you bluff. And he showed up. I don't know if it's rude of me to keep trying to do that accent, but yeah,
Oh.
I'm here.
No, I think it's fine. Yeah, no, I think it was kind of a cheeky nod to 007 and James Bond because everybody knows that, like, Idris Elba is a big favorite for the
Should
next
have been
James
that.
Bond. He
This
should have.
this should have been his James Bond movie, but instead he had to make a series and a show, and maybe they'll give him a cameo in the next one.
Maybe. We'll see. I think you should get it, but, like, yeah, it would have been better than this, most likely.
Mhm. For
Um,
sure, different writers.
yes. So we see that the
So I can't say
government,
for sure. I'm sorry. I just before you, I
hmm,
can't say for sure.
yeah.
I know some
So the
shit about
government
this.
is checking in on John, and we end it with him getting into a limo to speak to the chief.
Hmm.
We don't see who the chief is, but again, it's a little nod at like MI6 or something like that.
Yeah, British intelligence of some nature. I would have
Mhm.
liked for them to drop a name that was familiar. Say instead of saying chief, say the commander. Make it funny. Say Basil.
Right,
You
Basil.
know, and
Basil
just like
Expedition.
you know what I'm talking about. I
Yeah.
don't know. Make have Mike Myers pop out just for shits. Like I don't
Oh
know.
boy. Yeah.
But in general, to just leave it like, oh, the chief wants to talk to you, and he goes and he's about to get in the car. It's like, ain't that how the people were getting kidnapped earlier in this movie?
Yeah, you should be careful about who you get into cars with, that's for sure. If
Yeah,
this movie has taught us anything, it should be that.
right,
Uh,
right. Definitely be careful of who you ride around. Uber. Um,
yes,
but yeah.
for sure. Okay, I think that's it. I think we're at the end of it, man.
Oh yeah, we
You have
are
anything else?
actually.
Mhm.
Look, as we talking it through, and I'm like, oh crap, yeah, we did just get to the end.
Mhm.
That's the movie.
Cool.
So yeah,
So should we do
overall, Uh, the as far as the story, I'm sorry, I heard you say should we do. I'm assuming you're gonna ask should we do final impressions? Yeah,
Well, yeah, the final thoughts and ratings. Yeah.
yeah. Um. Oh, I do want to say I feel like a lot of the jumpers had familiar faces, but they weren't familiar actors. If that makes sense, it was like
Mm.
they looked like somebody. Either way, as far as this movie, again, I think a lot of the cinematic shots were very well. The dialogue wasn't terrible, but a lot of the interactions didn't really draw me in. Um, some of the action was overdone as far as the stunts, but I mean they're stunts. So can you really say they're overdone? They were done, and either you like them or you don't. Either you feel like they fit or they don't. And I do feel like they all fit. So kudos to the stunt crew actually, because this movie is full of just like wires and landing pads. They're everywhere, especially like two or three scenes. It's just they're everywhere. Um, but yeah, overall, I didn't hate the movie. I can't say I would be like, yo, you gotta go watch that Luther movie. But if you have watched Luther the series, I'm curious to know what you think of the Luther movie. And I'm curious to know what the Luther series has in store down the road, if it's still around. Excuse me, if it's coming back. But I'm gonna go back and check out some of the old stuff. With that, I'm actually not sure what to rate Luther, the movie.
Mm.
Luther the Fallen Son. I think I'm gonna give this a 6. Maybe a 7. No, it's definitely not a 7. Yeah, this is. I'm gonna give this a 5.5. I think I want to give it more points because it's Idris Elba.
Yeah. I just don't know if it's as good as that. You know what I
And
mean?
I even,
Like
yeah, I
he's
even like the
great. I
Detective Rain
just don't
or
know about
DCI Rain.
yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I like DCI Rain. I'm curious to know what else she acts in. What else she's done. Can't remember his name off the top of my. I don't know why I just blanked out on him, but the guy that plays David. I don't think he did a bad job. I think he did all right job for his character. But I would have liked his character to have more. But I'm not sure I can give this movie more than a 6.
Mhm.
And it feels more
Yeah.
like a 5.5 than a 6. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna ride with a 5.5.
That's fair. That's fair. 5-5. Corey here says,
Might be 4 or 5.
yeah, whenever somebody miraculously survives when they should have frozen to death, I think of a Saint Bernard with a thermos of hot chocolate attached to its collar.
That's
That is a very
hilarious.
nice, yes, and he's kind of walking through the snow, sniffing around to see if there's anybody caught in an avalanche. Yeah, I like it. Um, yeah, so you give it a 5.5. I think I'm around that too. I don't like. I wish I was more enthusiastic about the movie because I do like Idris Elba, and I kind of like the idea of the character of Luther. I'm gonna go check out the show for sure because I've heard good things about it.
Hmm.
But this movie, as a whole, isn't stellar. I think it really suffers from a underdeveloped villain, and in a movie that's sort of supposed to be driven by its villains, that's probably the biggest mistake. Especially if it's a crime thriller, you want to know more about the villain, and I just don't think that we got anything substantial about him. Um, and yeah, I just couldn't see him as a threatening character, and I think that the movie kind of falls flat for me there. There's also points in this where I started to lose interest. I think it drags on. Maybe we could trim 15 to 20 minutes off of it, and it would be tighter. Um, but overall, it's kind of a middling movie, and the upside is that Idris Elba is charismatic on the screen. Um,
Right.
I think I'm gonna give this like I think a 5. A 5 is fine. I can't really give it any higher because I'm not enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
It's just there.
It doesn't leap out. That's the one. I think that's actually, in my opinion, one of the most surprising things about this movie. There are a few scenes that make you question, like, what happened there? But there's nothing impressive. But there's also nothing ultra disappointing. Like this movie just
No.
exists, and I think that, ah, man, that might be worse than a bad movie sometimes.
I think we've said this before, but I think you're right. Yes. sometimes a middling movie is worse than a bad movie because you can have fun and laugh at a bad movie.
Right. And
Yeah,
you'll remember a bad movie just because you want somebody else to know how terrible that shit was.
true.
Like, yo,
Yeah.
don't watch this, but watch it to laugh.
Hmm.
But yeah, all right. So you give it a 5. I give it a 5.5. That middles us 5.1 ish.
Yeah, somewhere
Um,
around there for
yeah,
sure, man.
sounds good.
Cool.
Yes. Sorry, Idris. We tried.
We did. We like
Don't
you.
can't.
We
Right.
want you to be James Bond, man. So
But we definitely want you to be the next Bond. Invite us to the next red carpet or something. We'll give an honest and fair review as we did today. I
we'll
think I
we'll
think you'd
bring
appreciate that.
our sharpest tuxedos and Cockney accents. And
Hey now,
there you go. Yeah.
or I'll even practice.
There you go. Yeah,
Practice. I don't think they practice. I
absolutely.
think they practice.
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to figure that out.
Talk about practice.
So,
Talk about
yeah,
practice.
don't do that to my guy. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, then I think we can wrap it up here. Good with
Yes.
that?
Yeah, I
Cool.
think we're good.
All right. Thanks, you guys. We really appreciate all of you out there. Um, what did you guys think of Luther, the Fallen Son? Was it worth it? You can let us know in the comments, and we're happy to respond. And if you want to chat with us during the live shows, feel free. Thanks. Shout out to Corey, as always, for tuning in with us and for commenting. We really appreciate your interactions. It means a lot to us. So thank you. And thank all. Pardon. Oh my God, I lost it. Thank all of you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. If you want to go check out what we do with our friends, you can go check out Thinkering Talks on Facebook. We have a podcast every day of the week. You can go check it out there with Tuesdays with If Numbers Could Talk, Wednesdays and Sundays at Screamtime Continuum. Then you have Twitch on Thursdays with Strawberries and Coffee and King_of_Ilion. And that is Dijon and Big Mike, respectively. You have Friday nights at Exofathom at 8 p.m. Saturday mornings with This Married Moment with Keelan and Bobby between 10 a.m. and noon. And then again, Sunday evenings here, Screen Time Continuum. Keelan, do you know what we're going to be reviewing for Wednesday?
Uh, it, no, because
Damn it.
every time I have something, it's a documentary, and I really
Okay.
want to watch the documentary. I'm gonna let you guys know we might end up covering some documentaries in the future because I'm finding a lot of really, really good ones that I want to cover, and I know that's not where we are.
Yeah.
We have
We'll
not
see.
decided to venture into that, at least quite as of yet. But I will find us an actual film to watch, something that everyone can get into.
Yeah.
I can't wait
We'll
till
post
Cocaine
it.
Bear is available.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page and check the community tab. Shout out to
Definitely.
Corey for mentioning that, because I'll post it on the community tab tomorrow when we figure it out, and you can watch it with us for Wednesday. Yeah, sounds good.
Yes,
Sounds good.
wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, Corey's asking, what's the movie for Wednesday? It's like The Third Man, 1949. Oh, there you go. We're gonna have to take that into account. Well, we'll write that down. It might be a recommendation from Corey. But yeah, we'll post on the community tab tomorrow what we're going to be reviewing for Wednesday. So check that out on our YouTube page at Screen Time Continuum. Thanks so much, you guys, for tuning in. Shout out to Corey again. Shout outs to Big Mike. I know he's watching as well. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it. For Screen Time Continuum, I am Nick.
And I am Keelan.
Good night.
Thanks a lot, guys.